Hi guys, once again welcome back to another Android app development tutorial. In this video, here I am going to show you how to set default values for the preferences in your app's settings page. Also, I am going to show you how to save these default values into the app's default shared preferences file. So here I already create a settings page for this application. So here the settings page contain three categories: storage, text, SMS delivery report, and multimedia messages delivery reports. So now I'm going to show you how to set default values for these preferences. So for setting default values, first step, you have to specify default values within the preferences XML file itself. So this is the XML file corresponding to this settings page. So first here I am going to specify default values for each of these preferences. So first one is a checkbox preference. So the checkbox preference accepts only two values, true or false. So for the delete old messages checkbox, I'm going to specify the default value into true. Now here we have two list preferences. It is the message limit. It is a list preference. So it accepts a string value. So in my strings.xml, here I specify a default value. It is 500. Now I'm going to specify the default values for the two list preferences. It is limit default value. Now I'm going to specify the default value for the second list preference. Now comes to text messages. It is the delivery report. Here we have a checkbox. It accepts true or false. For text SMS, I'm going to specify default value into true. But in the case of MMS, I'm going to specify default value into false. Okay. So this here we set default values within the preferences XML file itself. So now we need to save these default values into the app's default shared preferences file. The preferences API use the app's default shared preferences file to write and read app settings. So for that, you have to call a method called set default values within the onCreate method of your activity. So here I have main activity. Here is the onCreate method. So from the onCreate method, I'm going to call a method called set default values. This method will write the default settings into the app shared preferences file. So preference manager dot set default value. So this method need three parameters. First one is context. Second parameter is the preference XML file. Here it is r.xml.preferences. And third parameter is a boolean. So here I pass false for the third parameter. So here the boolean parameter, that means the third parameter indicating whether the default value should be set more than once. If it is false, the system set the default value only if the method has never been called before. As long as the third parameter set to false, you can safely call this method every time your activity starts without overriding the user's saved preferences by resetting them into default values. So that is the purpose of the third parameter. Okay, so here in this application we set default values for the preferences. Also we save the default values into the app's shared preferences file. So we can run the project. I go to the settings page. So here for the first checkbox we set the default value into true. So here it is checked. And for the second checkbox also we set into true. And for the last one we set that one into false. That's why it is not checked here. Okay, so now I make some change. So here when I make some change on the settings page, we already call the method from main activity, and because of that when I change something inside the settings page, the system will automatically write the settings into the app default shared preferences file. So this is how we set default values for the preferences in your app settings page. I hope you understand the concept. For getting more Android tutorial updates, please subscribe this channel now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.